Back with you, Fantasy Best Friends Forever, Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Greg Sussman, Frank Stanfield, Nick Costos hanging out with you. Chris Venture will join us for the second hour today. But as he does each and every Thursday, to break down all the injuries and let us down, kind of softly, I guess. Not always, but lets us down on a weekly basis, I'd say. It's Dr. A from Inside Injuries. What's up, Doc?
I'm really happy that you guys consider me in such high regard for the optimism.
Definitely, I would never call you optimistic. That is one thing I will never call you.
Which I appreciate from the Doc.
Yes, we're realistic. Unfortunately, I have no sides here. It's the injury and the data. It is what it is, right? So
fair enough. I just never feel good about it. And Frank started the program off joking about Blake Snell's injury where he dropped something on his foot, which I believe, because Blake Snell's a good guy who would never make up a lie. It's all true.
You ever heard Blake Snell talk?
Yeah, of course.
He's an interesting dude.
Well, a lot of guys are interesting.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he was... I don't know.
Listen,
we'll talk about it.
What he said was he got out of the shower. He's like, I got to move this thing. Picked it up to move it. Didn't realize it was two pieces, and he dropped it. Like, that's something I would do or you would do for sure.
Much more likely you than me. But
I don't disagree, but nevertheless, one of us would do it, me. So I believe it. He says, despite the fractured toe, he's going to miss one start, be back next week. Do you concur?
Well, if it's a fractured toe, the likelihood of him coming back fully healed of a non-displaced fracture or hairline fracture in 2 weeks is very unlikely. This is a 4-week. If you want to heal a non-displaced fracture, it's 4 weeks. So the fact that is expected to miss one start. I'm not sure if that's completely accurate. We're looking at May 14th. So 2 weeks is, in our opinion, then it wasn't really a fracture. If they're saying it's a fracture and they're saying he's going to be back in 2 weeks, that's really puzzling. So I would say May 14th, 4 weeks, if it's a non-displaced fracture.
Greg, this was my exact reaction too. Now, I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on television, but when I first saw fractured toe, I'm thinking, well, how is he only expected to miss one start? How's he going to be back next week? It just didn't add up to me. It didn't make sense. So, and I respect what Doc is saying, but is it somewhere in the middle? Is it, because Inside Injuries has him at 4 weeks, in the middle of May to return, and then the Rays are saying 1 week, so is it more like 2 or 3 weeks in the middle somewhere? I don't know, but I'll tell you what, Greg, I'm not buying that. This is just, he's coming off the IL in his minimum time. I'm not buying it.
Maybe it's just not really a broken toe. Maybe it's like a sprained toe.
Why would they lie, though? Why would they lie about it being fractured? That doesn't seem to make sense to me. But I tend to agree that if it is fractured, I think we see longer than this just 10-day short stint that they're talking about. Doc, I want to ask you about Rougned Odor, someone that I was very high on coming into the season now. He's gotten off to a slow start. At least he was trying to run and steal bases, but a little bit harder to run and steal bases when you're dealing with a right knee sprain. How serious is this for Rougned Odor, and when do you expect him back?
Yeah, this is pretty concerning. I mean, not the severity of the injury. I mean, it's a grade 1 knee sprain, so there's no tear, there's no significant injury. However, what is if you guys, I don't know if you guys remember, but he missed a month last season because of a hamstring strain on the left side, and so a guy, again, second baseman, a lot of range, got to move a lot. Speed is of utmost importance, especially stolen bases, etc. The fact that he missed a month from a hamstring injury last year, and now he's got a grade 1 right knee sprain, really, the durability here, will be affected in that regard. So right now, this particular injury, we have him slated back to come back on April the 26th. It's 2 weeks. And so, that's when he should be healed from this right knee strain. But, be in mind, he did miss a month from a left hamstring injury last year, and now he's got a right-sided knee injury. So these ticky-tack injuries will make him miss probably a few more weeks later on in the season this year as well.
Not so bad, though.
Not so great.
Return in 2 weeks, Greg.
Not so great.
I'll be glass half full, you're glass half empty.
Well, because my players I own, I get very frustrated.
Well, you own Odor, too.
I know. That's why I say I get frustrated.
Yeah, I have him in the Great Fantasy Baseball Invitational. I need him.
Yes.
15-team league. It's kind of hard to replace.
As long as Garrett Hampson. Is Garrett Hampson in the lineup tonight, by the way? Do you have that? Is that later tonight?
Yeah, I don't know when the Rockies are playing today.
The Rockies play 8:40, so we're not going to have that for a while.
Yeah, we're not going to have
Anyway, we're talking to Dr. A from Inside Injuries. And, Doc, Justin Turner missed the last couple of games with ankle injuries and hamstring issues. He did pinch hit yesterday, so I think he'll be back in the lineup today. But how concerned should fantasy owners be about Justin Turner's availability going forward?
Well, this is a soft tissue injury. This doesn't even get to the level of grade 1, so that's good, both on the ankle and the hamstring. And so even though, foul pitch off of the ankle during batting practice Monday, that's probably the soft tissue injury. Tightness in the hamstring is, we are predicting that it's not a strain of the hamstring. It's more like, precautionary. And so 1 week optimal recovery time, be back on April the 22nd. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So all in all, pretty good news, for Turner.
I'll take it.
Let's stick with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Yeah, we have Justin Turner together, Greg, and I have a few other shares as well. Let's stick with the Dodgers, though. Cody Bellinger, Dodgers fans and fantasy owners alike gasping, holding their breath the other day regarding Bellinger as he gets hit right in the side of the knee with a Luis Castillo fastball. Luis Castillo throws a pretty good fastball, 96, 97 miles per hour. Did not look good for Bellinger, but he was in the lineup the next day. He was playing yesterday on Wednesday. So, how are we feeling about Cody Bellinger? Is this something that could act up again in the future regarding Bellinger's knee?
No, I mean, they probably got an X-ray. They probably got as much imaging as they possibly could to make sure there's not a fracture. If he's in the game again, there is no fracture. It's a soft tissue injury. It's going to heal. I would have preferred to have him sit out a week, let the soft tissue bruise, not impact him. But, they pay these guys a lot of money to get him back out there. But this should not be something that recurs. So, we were saying April 22nd, he came back right away. And, he's still at, above average peak health, etc. So all in all, it looks pretty good.
All right, so 2 positives in a row, Frank, for us.
Yeah,
better than usual.
I agree. The percentage is going up. We're talking to Dr. A from Inside Injuries. Doc, actually, I'll go to Frank here. Frank, I know you love talking about the Phillies.
I'm not a doctor.
Frank, I know you love talking about the Phillies bullpen in general.
Oh, no.
So I thought this would be a good time to ask Dr. A about David Robertson.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm all right with that. Because, I love Gabe Kapler. I love the Phillies bullpen, right? Hey, Hector Neris picks up a save yesterday. How about that, Greg? My guy, Hector Neris.
He wasn't the guy that was brought in to get the save. That was Adam Morgan.
Well, you know what?
You skipped that part.
He still ended up converting because Adam Morgan sucks, like I always say regarding the Phillies bullpen.
Doc, what's up with David Robertson?
So I would have to say cautious optimism. So what that means is I'm a little bit concerned. We're concerned. It's only a grade 1 elbow flexor strain, but he is a relief pitcher and he is a right-handed pitcher. I mean, it's a right-handed pitcher and it's just throwing extremity. So even if it's a grade 1, 3 weeks is the optimal recovery time. He's got to really heal this thing because this thing comes back. All the money's on that arm. And so May 6th is when we're, kind of looking at him to be back and better, so if he comes back earlier, it's a no. He has to heal this thing, otherwise it's going to come back and he's putting himself in more jeopardy later on into the season.
Greg, bold prediction. By May 6th, we still don't know who the Phillies closer is.
I don't think it's that bold, dude.
I tend to agree with
you. Tell me by September 30th, we still don't know who the closer is. Like, that's a little bit more bold, and I also believe it.
Yes, I would believe it as well, unless, they sign Craig Kimbrell for whatever reason. Doc, Andrew Benintendi, he hasn't been in the lineup the past couple of days. He fouled a pitch off his foot the other day, and he's dealing with a bruised right foot that they're calling it, and he expects to be in the lineup this Friday. Is that a smart decision by the Red Sox?
Yeah, April 21st is when we're looking at it, a little bit earlier than that. But it's a soft tissue injury. Again, likely did x-rays, no fracture. As long as it doesn't cause him a lot of pain, 1 week is fine, and April 21st, he should be good to go.
All right, so pretty positive there. Just getting back into swing of things.
Because everyone's fouling things off their foot and causing bruises. So that's why it's positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to tell whether he was sitting out these past couple games because he truly wasn't healthy or because they were going against lefties, or maybe a combination of both. Against the Yankees, because it was J-Happ and it was Paxton. So.
But I think it had to do more so with the injury rather than the lefty.
And they would have liked to get him in there.
You're going to play Andrew Benintendi.
They want to win the games against the Yankees. Division game.
Of course, exactly. Let's talk about a couple of pitchers now. Frank wasn't a big fan of Freddie Peralta in general just because of the amount of pitches he threw. And then he threw one too many and got hurt. What should his availability be going forward?
You said Freddie Peralta, right?
I did.
Yeah, so he's got a grade 1 shoulder injury. When you talk about shoulder inflammation, you're number one, you're talking about the rotator cuff. And so he has a grade 1 rotator cuff, probably strain. The optimal recovery time for this injury is 2 weeks. So we're thinking April the 30th is when he should come back. So it's not super long. They said 10 days and we say 2 weeks. So, we're pretty much, in concordance with what the team is saying. So I think April 30th is when he'll be back and he'll be ready to go and healed from this injury.
All right, that's good to hear about Freddie Peralta, that he should be back sooner rather than later. That's good.
Yeah. Well, if you're a Freddie Peralta guy, which I am not. We asked you about David Robertson, Doc. I want to move over to another Phillies player here. Yep. Gene Segura, dealing with a hamstring injury, is expected to avoid the injured list. And this one intrigues me for multiple reasons, because I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gene Segura has dealt with hamstring injuries in the past. I don't know if it's been to the same leg or not. But if he's out for any extended time, Scott Kingery has homered in back-to-back days and has looked pretty damn good. So there's a lot of moving parts here regarding Gene Segura. What do you guys have on him?
Yeah. So this is, if you guys want me to get really negative, here we go. So, he had a mild hamstring strain in 2018, thumb soreness in 2018, a bone bruise of his tibia in 18, a hamstring injury on the right in 2017, and a right high ankle sprain in 2017. Notice I didn't say really anything on the left in 2017 and 2018. Now the left will start. And so here's the left in 2019. It's a grade 1 left hamstring injury. On its surface, it's only 2 weeks, etc. But here's the problem. We have a predictability of less than 50% on his injury impact on performance. So if there's a time and you got a good replacement, this may be a good trade or getting him off of your fantasy team, because it's basically going to go downhill from there. So how's that for negative?
You got really excited really quickly, Frank. And then it was slows down.
That's exactly, that's exactly what I worried about regarding Gene Segura, hearing something like that. But, if Scott Kingery fills in for him, I think the problem, I don't think it's just going to be, okay, Gene Segura is going to be out for this amount of time and Scott Kingery just fills in for him and takes off. I think it could be a thing where Gene Segura comes back, maybe re-injures himself again, because, that's kind of like what it sounds like to me, Greg. So, personally, after hearing that, and I don't own any shares of Segura, but when he comes back, if he performs well for a couple of games, I would look into trying to ship him out.
So so that's going to be all about stashing Kingery, I would assume.
In deeper leagues, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Talking to Dr. A from Inside Injuries. Doc, as a Tyler O'Neill owner, I'm not totally depressed about the Harrison Bader injury, because it means more playing time for Tyler O'Neill. So, Doc, how long should we expect Harrison Bader out?
So the hamstring epidemic, continues to occur, right? Especially for outfielders there, it's a pretty, I wouldn't say devastating type of injury, but it really impacts their ability to break on the ball in the outfield. And, hamstring is really on speed on the bases and power, associated with power at the plate. And so it's a grade 1 injury, so not bad, but it requires 2 weeks. And, you're right, he does steal the bases, so you want to make sure this thing really heals. So April the 28th is when we are recommending that he stay and rest and rehab, etc. And then, don't let him come back until after April the 28th. And so that's what we're predicting, April 28th.
Harrison Bader not coming back until the end of the month. And I mentioned Tyler O'Neill getting the playing time, replacing him. Well, in doing so, he then got hurt and went on the IL. They need some more playing time for Jose Martinez, who I think becomes a speculative ad, Frank, now.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in deeper leagues. What we've said about Jose Martinez all along is the skills are there, the bat-to-ball skills, the high batting average upside, but he doesn't have a place to play. So, and that was kind of the case for a lot of the Cardinals guys. We really like Tyler O'Neill, but he didn't have a place to play, and now he's hurt too. So, again, a lot of moving parts for the Arizona Cardinals. The St. Louis Cardinals. We'll get into the Arizona Cardinals maybe next segment with Costos. But, Doc, I want to ask you about Tyler Skaggs. He's hurt. Well, guess what? The sky is blue, grass is green. Tyler Skaggs is hurt every single year. He's dealing with a left ankle sprain. How severe is this? And, is this something that's going to hamper him all season long?
Yeah, I mean, he got this injury by fielding a bunt during last Friday. And in my opinion, I think bunting should be removed from the sport of baseball. But anyway, that's my opinion. But grade 1, low ankle sprain, not a high ankle sprain, so that's good news. It's grade 1, so there's no significant sprain. 2-week recovery time, April 29th, and he should be good to go after April 29th with this particular injury.
All right, Tyler Skaggs, who's always injured, actually a positive report from Dr. Ray about Tyler Skaggs. It's very rare. I thought you were going to be like, Skaggs is out for the year with the ankle injury. Yeah. We're done. Speaking of being done, we have one more player to ask you about before we're done, and that's with the Mets' Brandon Nimmo, who hasn't...
Let's go, Mets.
Brandon Nimmo, Doc, how concerned should Met fans be about his availability going forward?
So neck stiffness is usually a result of two things. One is just paraspinal muscle spasm, and that's what it looks like this is. It's not a disc issue. That's what we're predicting. So soft tissue, this particular injury is fine. It just needs rest. 1 week. We're saying April the 23rd. Take muscle relaxers, get a massage, make sure that physical therapy works, and then get back after April the 23rd. I mean, 1 week is pretty much all he needs. It doesn't look like it's a disc issue, so that's good.
All right, so positive news when it comes to Brandon Nimmo for the most part. I think it was more positive than negative today, Doc, so that's okay.
That's good, yeah.
All right, Doc, we talk to you each and every week, of course, from Inside Injuries, but I believe Inside Injuries is doing something a little bit fresh now, right?
Yes. Thank you I'd love to plug this. So we are launching our new platform at InsideInjuries.com. So if you go to InsideInjuries.com, you're going to see something totally different. I know we talk a lot about baseball right now, but basketball and then the NFL, and you guys are going to be pretty excited about this. We're launching a platform that combines fantasy and gaming. And so, for the NBA, for specifically the matchups, there's a spread, and then we're using our millions of points of data aggregation to move the spread one way or the other, either with the spread or against the spread, and we give the exact movement. And then individually you can go into the teams, and individually you can go into the players and see all of the data that we've accomplished and all of the injury history and why we're saying what we're saying, etc. So from a fantasy perspective, it'll be great because even though if you don't bet on the game, you can look at what players are hurt, what their predictability is, what their injury risk is, what they're healthy to return, that we talk about every week on this show. But then if you are going to be involved with gambling, then you'll be able to see, hey, Inside Injuries based on the injury analytics is saying, the Warriors are really going to not be able to cover because of the loss of DeMarcus Cousins, and it's going to be by 4.5 points. And so it's a really positive thing that we're doing. We're combining both of these industries and both of these types of consumers, like fantasy players as well as gamblers, into one product. So right now we're NBA and we're doing the playoffs. And so if you want to check all that stuff out, you go to InsideInjuries.com. It's pretty awesome. And then we're going to be doing the NFL for every single game, every single player, every single matchup, and we'll be able to talk about that in the future. So we're pretty excited about that. And so go to InsideInjuries.com to check it out.
InsideInjuries.com. Brand new and updated and fresh and different. And Dr. Ray and his team's going to help you guys out with every sport imaginable and all the injuries. Doc, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, guys, remain positive.
We'll try, man. We'll try. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of the opening lines. The NFL schedule was released yesterday. Nick Costa is going to help us break it down and let you know where to place your wagers. Stick around. More from your BFFs right after this.